This is East Coast DNA. I'm your host, Darcy Walsh, and today's guest today we have Jon Rains. Welcome, Jon.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
So, Jon, you're a new artist to me. I did have a chance to listen to some of your music before this, and I did have a couple notes. You sent me some of your bio there as well.
Hmm.
But you're from, is it Lunenburg, Nova Scotia you're from?
Well, I technically live in Bridgewater,
Okay.
but yeah, it's like so. Depending on where someone's from, I'll say I'm from Lunenburg because people are like Bridgewater. I don't know, Bridgetown. Like they
Sure. Yeah,
don't really know where
certainly.
that is, but
Yeah,
yeah,
well, except for the maybe the Nova Scotia people and some real keen tourists. It's you get a
exactly. Yeah,
every region's like our Pictou County area is like that too. A lot of people say they're either from Glasgow or if somebody says Pictou because they hear Pictou County, they just say, "Yeah, that's where I'm from," even though
yeah,
most of us are from one of the other three towns that are in the county.
yeah,
So
exactly. It's funny. Like most people that live in Lunenburg County probably live in Bridgewater. It's like
yeah,
one. I think it's one of the most populated towns in Nova Scotia, like along with Truro, maybe. But
yeah. I
yeah,
wouldn't be surprised. I've had a few artists that have come on the show from the area.
yeah,
So one thing that is different though, we do have country artists on here, and we do have lots of folk artists on here. You've
yeah.
got somewhere in the range where you're definitely country leaning.
Yeah.
Believe you listed your own genre as alt country for your solo material.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, being that you're fairly new in the solo realm for yourself, I do know in your notes you had mentioned that you'd been playing for, well, since you were a child, but for about
Yeah.
15 years you've been in different musical acts around the province, I guess.
Yeah.
So, were those country bands, or maybe you give us a little history of
No,
what you were doing? Because you
it's
started
kind of
really
funny.
young. Yeah.
Yeah, I started really young. I remember I won't go on too much of a tangent about this, but I started when I was like 6. It was a snowstorm. We lived in Stuyak. My dad pulled out a guitar and was teaching my brother how to play the intro riff to Ghost Riders in the Sky. And I was like, that was when I knew. I was like, I gotta learn how to make that noise. And but then anyway, it was my older brother. He when he started going to high school, he started getting exposed to all kinds of metal, and so then I got really into that too. And so I guess when I was like, since the time I was 12, I was playing in various metal bands up in New Brunswick where I lived at the time, and I always liked country music, but I never saw myself playing it. But I used to be in a band called the Visceral Throne from the time I was about 16 till the time I was 20, and yeah, and then
I know who that is. Yeah.
yeah, cool, man, cool. Um, yeah, and then I still played after that. Like I moved back down to Nova Scotia, and I still played, but like I played the guitar around a campfire, like I played a couple coffee houses or whatever. But um, yeah, then I guess in the last since 2021, I started playing kind of the country stuff.
And that's the switch was partially to be able to do it solo, I would suppose, but like
Yeah, that's right.
was there something bigger that pulled you from one genre to another, or it's just more so relocation and rebranding and just a new adventure?
Yeah, well, I think it's there's definitely something to be said about like it is really hard to play metal by yourself, like just like a
Hmm.
one man band. But and again, living in kind of like a rural part of the province, it is hard to find people to jam with. So I just started um, playing some old like Hank Williams songs, like learning some covers, and yeah, started doing that. And I would like to play metal again someday, though. Like every once in a while, I've been really into At the Gates lately. Like
Okay.
I've been listening to that a lot, and sometimes I'm like, God damn, I would love to be in a metal band again. So
You could start the first East Coast country metal band, maybe.
that
I'm
would be
sure
cool.
there's
It would
definitely
either
a market for something like that.
Yeah, it would either be really cool or it would be really not cool. Like I feel like it could go one of two ways.
I'm
Yeah.
sure without ever hearing a project like that, that the initial reaction for most people would be to think of something horrible to say on what they suspect it would be. But
Yeah.
I think if you played the right venue to the right crowd, it could explode really quick too.
Yeah. Did you ever see I don't know where they're from. There was this band, I think they were called Gangster Grass. and they were like a bluegrass hip hop band, which at first sounds like
Why
sounds
do it?
yeah, it sounds like putting whiskey and milk. Like it just sounds like it
Yeah.
shouldn't go together. But they were actually pretty friggin' awesome. I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised.
Oh yeah, there's always nice surprises in genre mixing. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
So you've been doing the solo country thing for a year and a half, 2 years,
Yeah, thereabouts. Yeah,
but in that time you were able to release two EPs.
they were more like singles. Like there was one that was the first one I did. It was like very DIY.
Mm-hmm.
But and then I released another. Sorry, that was just two songs, um, which I just like recorded on my phone, thinking that it would sound good, and then it went all right. Like it didn't turn out as awful as you would think. And then I released another single this with like I think February, "Burn Forever,"
Mm-hmm.
and then in April released another kind of EP single, two songs. Yeah.
And so have you been getting the traction that you want off of the change over into doing something solo? Like how does it compare to like the audience or views that you would have been getting previously when you were in the full band?
Well, it's hard to say because that was also playing in a metal band. Like when I was playing in a metal band, that was also about 10 years ago. And
Sure.
one thing that kind of hit me like a brick wall was how much things have changed when it comes to promoting music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it is hard. Like you basically have to be like know what's going on all the time. Like people are always like, it's so saturated too, which is
Mm-hmm.
cool. Like it's really cool to see all the music that people are coming out with, but it's hard to keep up with, and it's hard
It
to
is a in my position. I have the problem of being aware of just enough to know how little I know, and
yeah.
also knowing so much that on any given night I could probably give you two or three alternatives to somebody that I could catch live. I love catching new bands, but chances are if I list off three options, two of those are people I know now. So
Yeah.
it's always really difficult to it's a funny problem to have, especially given the way things were the last few years. But at this
Yeah.
point in 2023, I definitely have that issue where we have so many performances and so many acts out there that anything that you can think of, we have the instant gratification of the internet in real life now,
Yeah.
that you really can think of a genre that you want and the type of establishment you'd like to spend your time in. You could probably find a venue that has a live band playing that music now.
Yeah. Which like in my opinion is cool. Like it's cool to be able to cater to every niche that a person might want to experience. But at the same time, I think there's kind of some of the magic taken out of it too. You know what I mean? Like I remember my dad telling me about seeing, I think he was talking about seeing April Wine when he was a kid and when like, he was like a teenager.
Mhm.
And he was talking about the phenomenon of like going to the show and the band comes out on stage and he's like, "Oh, that's what those guys look like. That's so
Yeah,
cool." It's like back in the 70s and 80s, you might buy the record, there might not be a picture of them, you know what I mean? But and it's like uh now everything is so like, especially with Instagram and all that stuff, it's kind of like everybody wants to know everything about these artists, like especially if
hmm,
you're like a big um like a big name,
oh yeah,
and like if you got to be creating content all the time, and I find you can really easily get caught up in that rat race of trying to produce content, like, and kind of burn yourself out that way. So it's nice to find a balance between like keeping it fun and doing like the work side of it too, you know what I mean?
for sure. And so you've been able to, I mean, we're talking primarily about like the whole digital landscape as far as the fact that you've been able to release material the last couple of years. But
Mm-hmm.
you had mentioned in your email that you had just come back to Nova Scotia after some tour dates you did through Nova Scotia and Quebec. I see that you have a couple of New Brunswick dates tagged on the end. You might still have one of those that still didn't happen yet.
Yeah, that's right. So next weekend, August 5th,
Mhm.
Nova from Ruby Creek, the band that I was touring with, and I will be playing in Alma at Tipsy Tales. It's like it's that town just outside of the Fundy Park. It's a
Okay,
really cool
perfect.
spot. Yeah.
I was going to ask you for specifics because there's actually an Alma that's about 5 minutes from my apartment, but I'm in Nova Scotia, so it's definitely
Oh,
the wrong
okay.
place, wrong
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
province
Yeah.
altogether.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. This is in New Brunswick. This is like just out, like the gate to get into the Fundy Park on the like in New Brunswick is
Yeah,
in Alma. It's
well,
a cool
there you
little
go.
town. Yeah.
There you go. They don't have performance there as of yet. Oh, that's a wishful as of yet, but
Yeah.
Shoebox Studios that's down the street and has the Shoebox Cantina below it. We mention them a lot because they bring a lot of bands in through town here. They
Cool.
actually bought our local drive-in, which is in Elma. So maybe in the future you'll do Elma, Nova Scotia as well. Like
Yeah. Maybe,
maybe
man.
they'll
Yeah. That
host
would
a
be
show out
cool.
there. That's wishful
Yeah.
thinking, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the band Ruby Creek that
Yeah.
you had done the tour dates with. Now, is that a pre-established connection, or are they aware of you from your solo material already, and you ended up opening for them on their tour dates? What was the dynamic there?
So, yeah, Nova and I, who was going to be performing with me down in Alma, her and I have been friends for a long time.
Okay.
Well, like when I lived in New Brunswick, we went to high school together and hung out a lot and stuff like that. And then she was in Montreal and had formed a band Ruby Creek. And then it was kind of funny because we were talking about going to see Orville Peck in Montreal. And
Hmm.
that's kind of how this whole thing started. Because I was like, I'm going to drive up to Montreal and see Orville Peck. And then we're like, we might as well just make like play a couple shows while we're there. And then just kind of turned into like a week long little tour. So
Well, that's fun.
yeah.
And did you get to see that show as well, too, then?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
Because unfortunately, God bless him. He canceled. I guess he had some personal stuff going on, and he had to cancel all of his foreseeable tour dates and stuff. But yeah, it was still like the experience of a lifetime going out to Montreal. Like I had never been there before.
oh, well,
So
that's exciting.
yeah,
And Ruby Creek or Nova is based out of the Montreal area, then?
yeah, they are.
Okay, so that's another one for us to keep an eye on. We're starting to bleed a little further to the west with the East Coast DNA. It's a little bit more Eastern Canada than East Coast, but
Yeah,
not officially branding ourselves that way. But that's a few times this year that we've had some Quebec, especially Montreal bands, starting to get some
yeah,
references in here. So we're
yeah,
definitely
yeah.
expanding the network a bit.
Yeah, you should definitely check them out though. They are absolutely amazing. Yeah, they're a very cool band.
And coming out of that tour, you do have plans to do some more dates in not just in Nova Scotia, but across a few more provinces in the foreseeable future. Is this more solo, or I did notice? I think maybe it was on your Facebook profile or something that
Yeah,
you had a logo that had the Jon Rains, but it also had and the Tombstone Saddles.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, so that was something that that's going to be coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, so first of all, yeah, I do have a couple of dates across like only Nova Scotia and New Brunswick until the fall, and then
Okay.
I'm kind of taking a little not a break, but I'm going to be working on recording and writing some stuff. And so the next EP that I have coming out, which will be an EP like of a couple songs, like probably 4 to 6, will be with the Tombstone Saddles. So that'll be
Okay.
yeah, it'll be like a full band kind of thing. And
And are
yeah,
these other Nova Scotia-based musicians, or are they from a diverse amount of places? Or
yeah, I'm trying to keep it as local as possible, but it is going to be like a diverse amount of places for sure. So
okay, all
yeah,
right. So that'll lead to the tour dates being with a fuller band on stage with you then.
I'm not 100% sure yet. Like that is the goal.
Hmm.
Um, but as of right now, everything I've got lined up is just solo.
Okay, perfect. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I'm sure that doing this for a while now too, I get little peeks behind the curtain, so I'm sure that there's financial considerations on top of the fact that onboarding people to be able to play your songs and everything too. There's a lot of different moving pieces to be able to confirm anything like that in the
Oh
future
yeah, for
too.
sure. Yeah, and kind of like to another point to your earlier question, that is another reason why it is easier to do solo is like you've only got your own schedule to consider.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Where it's like I remember being in a band and it was like uh you have to try to work around four or five people's schedules, and it's a lot. Right, there's a lot more moving parts to deal with there.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I get a little bit of that on my end. I've been doing most of these solo the last few months, but same idea. When I was doing them with my brother, we're trying to coordinate between like an artist like yourself and my schedule and his schedule, and heaven forbid if it's a full band and we're trying to involve
Oh
another
yeah,
3 or 4 people on top of that. So
yeah,
it can get quite hairy even just to do a Zoom call.
yeah.
And I did see in your notes here too that outside of the new original material that you're doing, you're planning, maybe it's the EP that you just spoke of. You were planning
Okay.
to have another release by the end of the calendar year.
Yeah.
So is
So
that the
yeah,
same thing, or are you looking for a full album towards the end of the year?
um, yeah, it'll be somewhere between an EP and a full album. I'm trying to kind of gauge it. Like I don't want to be the guy that makes promises that he says
Sure.
he's gonna make release a full album and then he doesn't. Because I've definitely put myself in that position before. But yeah, it'll definitely be like an EP that's more than two songs.
And so if you're pushing for some releases near the end of year,
Mm-hmm.
are you planning on releasing any singles that maybe are holiday inspired?
No, probably not. No.
You might want to consider just cranking out a traditional Christmas song with your country styles and just putting it out as a single or something. Because I'm
Yeah, that would be
sure
cool though.
we, if you change your mind of doing it, be sure to drop us a note. Because the last 2 years, most people probably aren't aware of it, even though it did get a little bit of usage. But there's a Christmas East Coast Christmas playlist that we had put together,
Oh, cool.
and it's only online around Christmas. It disappears about a week after Christmas,
Oh,
but then I'll add to it the following year. So
nice, man. Yeah. Well,
I hope to revisit that again this year. I think we still have last year saved off to the side just to build from. So
nice.
yeah, yeah, be
Yeah.
sure to let us know.
Yeah.
And your band, the full band, then is it still the actual players still being slotted? You don't have everyone picked out for that band yet?
Not quite. No.
Yeah, fair enough. So we definitely down the road, if well, when you're releasing your new material, if you'd like to come back on and give a little introduction to who you're working with, that would be
Yeah, I'd love
more
to.
than welcome on this end.
Sweet, man. Yeah.
And so, will you be recording this stuff? Like as you said, your first couple songs that you did solo, you recorded on your phone just to kind of get a feel for what it was going to sound like and what your actual end product was going to be. But
Yeah.
nowadays, are you still doing the DIY, or are you working with somebody in a studio outside the home?
Yeah. I'm gonna be doing it DIY as much as I can. I might send it away to get mixed and mastered,
Yeah, sure.
but yeah, like I do have all like the means to record what I need to at home here, and
Do you have
so
any recommendations for anyone else that's maybe looking at doing something similar, where that you anybody can do anything nowadays, but
yeah,
not everybody knows how to go about doing that.
yeah,
So, do you have any tips for anyone that maybe is tinkering with the guitar and thinking, "Hey, I should record a few songs and see if I can get some traction from this"?
yeah. I would definitely say don't rush it. Um, like it's easy to hear, like if you play like a cool guitar part and you listen to it back and you get excited and you're like, man, I want to share that with my friends or whatever. Like take your time, like really take your time, but don't take your time too much. You know what I mean? Like you gotta, because you can also there's all those memes about guys that are like driving themselves insane and like they're 65
Yeah,
start mixing when they're my age and they 65 by the time they finish their mix. You know what I mean? Because you can really get too much into it. But yeah, patience, take your time, keep learning, like keep trying new things. And yeah, that's, yeah.
And the tour dates that you'll have coming up, be sure to send those to us as well, and we'll
Yeah.
publish them somewhere in our social media, or we'll squeeze them into one of our future episodes for any of our regular listeners to follow along.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned the single "Burn Forever."
Yeah, man.
I had given a listen to that earlier there as well. So we have a copy of that here.
Sweet.
So is that something that you would like for us to play out for the new listeners that don't know what a Jon Rains song sounds like yet?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that would be probably the best one to
All right,
showcase
perfect.
my sound. Yeah.
All right, we'll roll out to that here in just a second. Now, if somebody wants to follow you online to keep up with all this and not rely on Darcy possibly getting you back on a future episode,
Mm-hmm.
where is the preferred platform for us to send new fans for Jon Rains? I know that you have some activity there on Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook. I'm definitely primarily active on Instagram,
Sure.
just at Jon Rains Music.
Mm-hmm. And as far as music videos or anything, you're still a little early on to be doing any original full official music videos for anything, but do you maintain a YouTube channel or anything at this point?
Yeah, I've got a couple of live videos, like a couple clips of like just some songs from my live shows and
Mm-hmm.
stuff up there. So yeah, I think that's just Jon Rains Music as well. And
Perfect. We'll make
yeah,
sure we have some links down in the description. So anyone that's following along without your pen and paper, you can just scoot down to the bottom here and you can click along on any links that we have included. And
cool.
John, we definitely want to keep an eye on what you're doing going forward. But for now, we'll take a listen to Burn Forever here with our viewers, and keep an eye out for those dates coming this fall.
Right on, man.
All right. Thanks
Yeah,
again for your time.
yeah. Thanks so much for having me.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Take care.
I know one thing about you, girl. You've got the warmest smile in the coldest world. Even the sun would envy the way that you light up the dark with your blue-eyed gaze. If loving you was a sin,